I first heard about elephants in Maine from colleagues in the human resource space in Standard Bank. Our reward team had brought elephants on to do the newspaper process with their entire team, the rest of Africa, South Africa, international. And Kul van Rensburg showed us the video that was produced, and we were all very captivated by it. And so when I wanted to do a process with a particular group of people, elephants in Maine for me were the natural choice. The first product that I worked on with elephants in Maine was in order to do a kind of a year's wrap-up review of a process called Lean In, which we had run for women in Standard Bank. We wanted really to assess how the year's process had gone, but then also set ourselves up for going into the future. And I wanted something fun and engaging, and I also very much wanted men to be involved, because up until that stage it had been, a women's only initiative. And so I got hold of Steve and asked him for ideas, and again we came up with the concept of producing a newspaper. The initial attraction was, as I say, after I'd seen that video, because there was an excitement and an energy in what could have been, I think reward is really boring, other than that it pays me money every month. But it's kind of boring, it's numbers, it's accountants, whereas what I saw was something very different and exciting. So that was certainly the initial attraction. But then I must say, after having worked with them personally, the level of professionalism and service delivery is just amazing. The Lean In process, well, for me was quite big because it involved about 150 people. And really working with the team, I never had to worry about anything. I didn't have to, be anxious that maybe something wasn't going to be delivered or something wasn't going to happen on time, and it was such a pleasure. So that's certainly why I would keep on going back to elephants. The process that I'm most familiar with is 7th edition, which essentially puts participants in the conference, the seminar, the team build, into teams in order to produce a newspaper. And the newspaper is set sometime in the future and is meant to reflect where we will be in terms of a certain process. So for example, the one we used was, where will Standard Bank be on its journey towards gender equity in a year's time? And different people, different teams were responsible for different parts of the newspaper: front page, back page, classifieds, sports page, etc. And I think what really appealed to me was the very realistic edit room setup. That was really exciting, and I think for participants was so different to what they do on a day-to-day basis. And that at the end of, and I didn't think it was going to happen, but at the end of the 2-day process, we actually had the newspaper. And I could just see, as we were presenting it at the end of the session, how proud everybody was of what they had done, and how excited they were by the process. And we also managed, in the setup of the 7th edition, to run a number of press conference type setups, which were also very interesting and enabled us to bring many different voices into the room, which I felt was important. I think what the process was very powerful was at bringing men into this endeavour. I think traditionally we tend to say, well, this is for women and about women, so we'll just have women in the room. But on day 2, we did bring men into the room, and that really has set up an ongoing conversation around the role of men in the Gender Equity Initiative. So, and quite honestly, if we achieved nothing else other than that through that process, that's a huge win. The kinds of conversations that are happening as a result of the process have really set us up for a different path. The other thing that I found really encouraging was a number of women came away from that engagement and set up their own Lean In groups in the bank for more junior people. So our process was for middle and senior managers. These middle and senior managers have now come back and set up groups for the junior managers. So they're kind of paying it forward again, which is very exciting. Perhaps one of the things I haven't mentioned, which I felt was a huge value add, was a production of the video material. I can still show that to people, so even for people who weren't there, I can share the energy and the excitement with them, because it's absolutely palpable in the video material which was produced. So that for me was also a really valuable addition to the traditional kind of, conferencing, team building, etc. kind of service. And on days when I'm feeling down, I go back and watch those videos and feel a whole lot better. And I think that's also, speaks to the question about how has that changed the sense of how people feel in the office. Is we can always go back to that material and access that sense of excitement and engagement and vibrancy again, and remind ourselves of what we achieved in those 2 days, so that we can set ourselves up for what's necessary going forward.